Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the fourth session of second day of HACXMAS. Hope everyone's doing well. And yeah, I know you guys have been so busy since morning, working on your projects, attending sessions. So today we have a guest speaker, Daniel Lawrence. He's gonna talk on the future of work. So Daniel, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Hafisa. Yes, absolutely. Good afternoon to you and to everyone who's listening. My name is Daniel Lawrence. I'm the co-founder and managing director for Lawrence and Wedlock. Absolute pleasure to be here today. Thank you for inviting me, and it's great to be able to support the events and also the team at Brunel. We were lucky enough to have Hafisa join us for the intern program early this year during lockdown, which was an absolute pleasure to have her. It's good to be able to support the event and to join today. Everyone's probably at maybe technology overload at this point with everything that's been going on since yesterday. So I've prepared just a very short talk today about Lawrence and Wedlock, what we do and who we are and why we do it, and then just go into some Q&A hopefully, so that we can. I don't want to add to your brain drain that's been going on over the last couple of days and allow you more energy to finish off tomorrow in time for the judging. So Lawrence and Wedlock are a boutique consulting firm, I suppose, a specialist services firm. We effectively build and operate process automation robots for our customers so that they can get the very best out of all the different technologies that they use and employ in their businesses. And we do this using intelligent process automation tools, which mostly consist of workflow code and scripts. And we use those to automate tasks which effectively involve people interacting with applications, systems, and data. We do that at two levels. One at the human to machine or the user interface level, but we also do it at the machine to machine level using APIs. So we work with our customers to identify really good candidates that involve repetitive, mundane work that people are consumed by. And we basically automate two levels of process. One is that your basic deterministic tasks that are very rule-bound, very programmable, but we also automate a lot of processes that are probabilistic and inference-based. And we typically integrate with very unstructured data. So data that's very typically infrequently placed in the same locations using the same formats and so that sort of thing. And we use machine learning models and algorithms in order to automate those as well. And there's so many tasks that fit really into that basic type first. It's just because ultimately, as human beings, we're actually a lot more predictable than we'd like to think. So those are automations that we deliver for our customers. Enable them to operate with much higher productivity, better compliance for regulatory requirements, and to provide a better service, a quicker, better service to their customers. So we're very focused on what our customers really need to be the best version of themselves, and we're very focused on delivering the best outcome for them. So that's what Lawrence and Wedlock do. We were lucky to have Hafisa join us to learn about in the summer. And actually to become a developer of robots. So that's something that we encourage and invest in all of our staff in order for them to become qualified in the field that we work in. So we're big believers, I guess, in changing how work works for the better for people. We want that technology to really improve the quality of our working lives. But as you know, that's not always seen as to be the case. But the technology that we work with and have been working over the last 5 years is evolving and converging at a fastest pace we've ever seen. The good news and the upside of that is that your generation, as you enter the workforce, hopefully won't ever have to experience some of the really terrible working practices and things that we've had to do over the years, in at least my generation and before us, with some incredibly boring, very mundane, very manual, labor-intensive jobs. For example, the one thing you probably never experience is rocking up to the wages office on a Friday afternoon to collect a paper packet with your physical cash money in it, and going off down the bank before you can spend it all. But one example I always share with the new recruits that join our company, if they ever do complain about the work they have to do, which they typically don't. But I always show an example where we used to run, or very early in my career, we used to run a weekly expenses run. So all day, all week, we would receive envelopes in the post with paper receipts and paper forms. We had to troll through these big envelopes of information. We used to make sense of them, organize them, validate them, put them into date order, because they'd all be come in a mess, in a pile. And then we'd spend the week putting those into a system. And then come Friday afternoon, around midday, we used to actually get on the phone, call the data center, let them know to put in a new tape for us, and then we'd click a few different buttons, start running the process. About 2 hours later, that would finish. And then I would jump in the car, drive down the 329M in Reading, into the data center, get signed in by security. A guy would come down with an enormous, great big tape that was basically housed in what looked like an enormous pizza delivery box. I'd sign for that, get signed out by security again, and then drive back up the 329M and then book a courier to come and collect it for us, and then take that down to the city, to the bank. And then sometime a week later, people would physically get paid for those receipts and their expenses in their bank. So nowadays, that can and mostly is fully digitized, fully automated, and the expenses get automatically submitted, processed, and paid within minutes of hitting the button on their mobile device. So technology is transforming our working lives more than ever before. It's also transforming the way we do business, how we interact with our colleagues and our customers and suppliers, we manage our careers and apply for jobs. It's everything. So there are always going to be, however, risks and threats about such progress. The recent SolarWinds cyber attack is one example of that. But another one that we encounter more often and more frequently as an automation company is the threat of that technology poses to people's jobs. And various technologists will argue different opinions on this, but I can honestly say that in our years of doing automation, we haven't seen job losses or replacements as yet. It's very much more about augmentation and supporting. So I think over the years that we've been doing this, and I expect it to continue, we're seeing many new jobs that we've never even heard or thought of yet. I would say possibly over the next 5 years, I wouldn't be at all surprised if many job applications ask for an automation qualification as a standard, or another type of a digital qualification. I do expect the technology that is going to very much be more focused on augmenting people, alleviating the robotic aspects of our work, so that hopefully it should free us up for more human-to-human interaction. And another good example of that is social care. My brother-in-law actually works in the social care industry, and a big part of his job is contacting people, driving all over the United Kingdom to see them, assess them, make sure that they're okay, get the support that they need. But once he has access to faster, better technology and data, and more connected to people through that technology, and less reliance on doing robotic tasks, filling forms, work, he's going to be able to provide better care to people who really need it at the time when they really need it most. So that's really why Lawrence and Wedlock, I suppose, in a way, that's why we do what we do. I want technology to be an augmenter, an improver of our working lives, and to create more new and more exciting jobs, and enable us to be more fulfilled and happier roles. And I guess to give a bit of an illustration of that, the workplace of tomorrow that I see emerging very quickly right now is that all manual data work is being fully automated by process robots that work 24/7, 365. So when you do that, it does enable companies to actually rethink processes altogether, when they're not constrained by an 8-hour shift with lunches and holiday and sick pay and everything else. I would see that analysis and insights and interpretation of the data that's being entered is also starting to become much more automated by AI robots using machine learning, and being trained to improve on their work and their output over time. We're also seeing that employees and customers are interacting not only with each other, but with the actual systems via conversational AI using natural language processing, understanding, and generation. So effectively, we are building robots so that people don't have to be, so that we can reconnect more and we can collaborate more person to person. So I guess technology is a big part of all of our futures. Automation can book your holidays, it can diagnose illnesses, it can shopping recommendations or Netflix recommendations. I guess as the next generation coming through, there's going to be a huge amount of advantages for you out there, along with a lot of new challenges. Your responsibility is going to be to understand that technology and the opportunity it presents, but also the threats and the risks that it poses, and help design a better world for us all to live and work in. So I'm really looking forward over the next, between now and tomorrow, to see your projects and what you've been creating, to see how it's going to make that happen. Hafisa, thanks.
Thank you so much, Daniel. That was amazing. And thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule and joining us here today. As Daniel said, yes, I have been a summer intern at Lawrence and Wedlock, and I feel really lucky and great to work along with Daniel and other team members, because it's been a pleasure working with them. And Daniel is like really, really hardworking, and his commitment has inspired me a lot when I was at Lawrence and Wedlock. And the entire team is amazing. If you guys are interested in automation or want to know more about it, check the website. It's on the screen. So yeah, do check the website. And yeah, I think we got a lot of questions.
Good.
We can. So yeah, do you want to pick the questions or?
Yeah, we are certified with the Brunel University, and we're an active member of your intern program. So I think we're waiting to get back in touch. I did receive an email yesterday, so I'm waiting to get back in touch to see who's going to be potentially joining us in the new year. But we're very keen. Hafisa did a great job. So just to explain about how the just, I guess, expand a little bit. When Hafisa joined us, I was very keen that we got as much out of the process as Hafisa did. So there were two things that I was very keen Hafisa took part in, and one was attaining her developer certificate.
Daniel, I think your internet is.
Robotic process
I think it's lagging. Yeah, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine now.
It probably. Yeah. So I was just saying, Hafisa, you left us when you left us. You were a certified developer in robotic process automation, at least a junior developer. So you left with that, but also you left us having helped us create our training academy modules, which we actually did use. You'll be glad to know we actually delivered our first full training academy in robotic process automation to 15 people over a 5-week period. So thank you very much for all the hard work you did. And we you were a valued member of our team, and we're looking forward to having other new people come and join us in the summer. An opportunity.
Thank you, Daniel. I think there's. Is it just me, or I can't hear anything?
Am I back? Apologies. It's my Virgin network.
Yeah, to be honest, I wasn't quite sure what robotic process automation is before I joined Lawrence and Wedlock. And yeah, you're back. So yeah, to tell more about the intern program, how I got into intern program was it was posted on Brunel's jobs board, and that's how I got to know about the internship program. And then I applied for it, got interviewed by Daniel, and then yeah, I actually got to learn more so much about it. I did like a course, UiPath Studio And yeah, I'm a certified developer now. So moving on to the next question.
Yeah, actually, I see there was a question further down as well in terms of what experience did we look for with the interns that's related to that one. And I think probably everything that you had, Fafisa, which was a willingness, an eagerness to be involved in technology and how it can change lives. And that was the most important thing. We work with so many, I guess, applicants. We interviewed a lot of people each year for roles that we advertise. We've interviewed a lot of very clever people, and we've interviewed a lot of people with great certifications and qualifications. But the one thing I always look for, just something that makes them stand out from everyone else, is, I guess, a little bit of wider awareness of not just the technology itself and there's the skills, the technical skills, but more the softer skills of how you can apply that to customer real life enterprise situations. Having an awareness of stepping back from a situation to see how could the technology actually not only enable a better process, but how could it actually completely transform it? How could we eliminate steps altogether as well as automating? So I think that's what stood out for us when we spoke to you as well. You had that a wider awareness, a breadth and depth, rather than just the technology. So that's definitely something we look for.
Thank you so much.
So I think the next one was machine learning. So yeah, wow, that's an interesting one, because the algorithms that we probably use have probably been around for 50 years, most of them. There's nothing really strikingly new in the world of algorithms and models. We use some templated models that are available from a lot of cases. There's a lot of the providers that we use, whether it's Google and Microsoft, IBM Watson and others. And there's a lot of templated machine models that are already there for us to get the benefit from. Where the trick really with those things, though, is taking those models and applying them to new life situations. So we come across a lot of unstructured data situations. So for an example, a proof of delivery or a proof of export for a company that's shipping goods worldwide, the complete massive variety of proof of document and export you might receive, and the location of the certain fields you're looking for within a certain form, the shape of the form, the size of the form, whether it gets scanned in back to front, upside down, all of those things lead to the more complexity in AI being able to read and understand that data. So the trick is how we then train it, and that's where the work comes into it. So we work with templates, but we also spend a lot of time up front just trying to extract and identify the various data points so that the robots can learn over time. So it's a gradual process. We use what's available, but a lot of the time it comes down to building something new and training the models that we have with as many data subjects as you can possibly get. The more, the better.
Mm-hmm. And what's the most exciting project you have worked on?
Most exciting, I would say, within the field of customer due diligence. So we work with a lot of companies that have a sign-up process for customers, whether that's online gambling, financial bank accounts, and other things like that. They have to go through a formal customer due diligence process to identify, make sure that the person is who they say they are, get identification to prove that, and go through a number of other steps as well to validate different data points. And one problem that the industry, the companies are hounded by, is duplicate accounts in a lot of ways. So one of the clever processes that we've built and automated is robots that sort out duplicates. So, and you could, for example, you could take Rebecca. Let's just take the name of Rebecca. You can have Rebecca, Becca, Becky, Rebex. You can have so many different names. People can go in and create multiple accounts using all those different aliases and changes to their names. We built robots that will use algorithms again and return a likelihood of, is this a match? Is this likely to be the same person? And we can use tens of different data points incredibly quickly. And if you've got 100,000 customers a day coming through your CRM system, the robots can work real time and return a result to either that customer and alert them that they're not being activated, or it can alert an employee to do a follow-up. And we use last names, first names, initials, postcodes, address lines, date of births, emails, phone numbers, you name it. It's almost endless. The number of data fields that we can so quickly access in almost real time, and it just would not be physically possible. You couldn't throw enough people at an operation like that to deliver the same result. So what we often find with the processes we automate is we may automate a process that today people are maybe looking at 20% of the population of the data. And we throw some robots at it, and suddenly we're actually looking at 100% of the data. So that there's a new challenge that arises from that, is all these exceptions that fall out that the robot identifies. How do we deal with them? So we're now building robots that then say, okay, we've found a lot of exceptions. Let's apply more rules and logic to that, so we can actually do stuff with it. We can make decisions based on probability and trends. So that's probably, I would say, probably one of the most interesting and from a commercial standpoint, processes that we worked on.
Yeah. Automation makes a person's life 1,000 times easier and simpler.
That's the theory. That's the theory. It creates new problems sometimes.
Yeah. Should use it in right way.
Yeah, always.
Where do you think code generation will be in 5 years?
I think in 5 years, hopefully, I think with computing power advancing and the power of robots getting better, that robots will potentially be building new robots instead of relying on developers to do so. Now, that may be basic ones. It may put them into a sort of a sandpit in order for them to be reviewed, and they'll be released with a control by people. But I see robots being built by robots more and more, and I see machine learning algorithms and AI robots doing more of that work to find processes and find areas of the tasks that can be not only automated but improved and optimized. I think that's going to be a big part of the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So the trick is understanding robots now, so that in 5 years' time, there'll be a new job that doesn't exist today. And it'll be an evolution of what we're doing now. So now's the time to learn it, understand it.
Yeah. What's the biggest issue with machine learning right now?
Data, just the sheer data that's required to make true use of it. It's the data, and that obviously takes time. It takes power to run those through the models, and to look at the outputs of those. That's number one. That's probably it.
Mm-hmm. Is there a hardware limitation with AI? When will this limitation be removed, or do we need quantum computing?
Yeah, well, the computing power is what is allowing us to use algorithms and run them on a desktop enterprise level that we've never would have been able to before. And also those models being compartmentalized and standardized in such a way so that we can actually run them through a model that, just apply a known model to another data set of transactions, and make use of those. And then we've got a variant of that model. So that speeds things up massively. But yeah, that's always going to be, the computing power is always the limiting factor, and it's improving all the time. So interesting to see where that goes in the next 5 years too.
Mm-hmm. What year of uni do you have to be in to apply for the program? So
you probably know the answer to this one, Afisa.
So when I applied for the program, I was in my first year. That was a first year summer internship program. And I would say, even like Daniel said before, in your first year internships, I don't think the employers expect high standards from you. All they need is the enthusiasm and your interest to work towards the company and use the technology they have. They don't expect you to have a high range of qualifications in specific stream. So yeah.
And the most compelling thing, aside from the technical interest and wanting to be involved, every day Afisa and I had a stand-up call, because we're that's the sort of thing that we tend to do in what we do anyway. There's a daily stand-up call. Let's make sure what projects we're working on, what technology, what updates are coming out, what do we need to deal with today, basically. Standard procedure. which a lot of you are probably familiar with. And every morning without fail, Hafisa would turn up, a big smile on her face, and just ready to learn. And that's the most important thing, is we're looking for sponges. That's probably the biggest factor of all.
How do you solve issues with automation in the workplace? What safety protocols are there to stop that?
That's a good question. So this is an interesting one, because when we first meet a company, we're usually introduced to the IT organization. So that involves the info security people typically as well. And there is a misconception that robots can just run rogue at any minute, that they're just going to go off and start doing things that they haven't been programmed to do. And it's certainly not the case, certainly not yet. I think maybe in 5 years' time, when we've got bots building bots, that's going to be a different challenge. Certainly not an unsurmountable one, but a different challenge. But as it stands right now, the technology we use is non-invasive, so it's not integrated into the systems, and it sits at the UI level. And it only effectively does exactly what we program it to do. We have, like any software development lifecycle, although it's a lot faster and more condensed, we still have a software development lifecycle that we go through with the same level of diligence in terms of design and architecture. And that includes permissions, accesses, and systems access. So a robot effectively is treated like a new employee. They get a user account and an email account, and they're granted access permissions to systems and applications and data in exactly the same way a new person would be. So there's a lot of control. Every single thing the robots do are logged. Access to the control center for the robots is logged. And those things are, by most of our clients, are actually reviewed and interrogated. So we haven't failed to stand up to scrutiny yet. And we have a development life cycle that is fairly robust. It goes through 3 levels of testing before it gets to a user acceptance testing. And then once everything is passed and it's meeting the objectives and outcomes as defined, it goes into what we call a controlled or assisted live. So we start with 1 transaction, and over an agreed period of time, we build up until it's running at 100%. And then we go live. Then we have a hypercare period that supports that, and we do a parallel check, making sure that outcomes again, and we validate those. So we've got an awful robust cycle, a life cycle around how we build and deploy robots, and that's probably the real trick to what we do. The coding and the robots is probably maybe 15-20% of actually automating processes in enterprise. The rest is that entire life cycle that I just described.
So yeah, I think we already answered the lot of coding part.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. The lot of coding one is an interesting one, because having a coding background is useful. The tools we use are very GUI, so you don't have to be a coder. And there's a low code tool that we actually deploy with business users, operational users, who have absolutely zero coding experience. And it's a drag and drop type of process. And one of the things that we do as a service provider is that we will look at the technology environment, the ecosystem, and all the different systems that they use. So they might use an Oracle or an SAP ERP system. They might use an HR system and various different applications. What we do is we look at those environments, and then we start building what we call reusable components. So we'd have a login with all the different permissions and granted access for each different system. We put those into a library. And then if let's just say you're an accountant or working in the finance department, you want to build a robot that goes into your ERP system, downloads a report, puts it into Excel, puts it into a pivot table, filters the data, extracts it, and then inputs that into a reporting system. And we can build those reusable components so that non-coding experienced person can basically drag and drop and build their own robot. And that's something that over the last couple of years has started to take on. I think that'll take on more over the next 2 to 5 years. And there'll be a lot more non-technical experienced people building very simple robotic automations that benefit themselves and maybe their teammates.
Mm-hmm. What do you look for in future intents? I think you already answered it. How do you get into automation and AI?
By mistake, I think, is the answer. So by training, my background is as an accountant, and I went from accountancy in a couple of big companies. I worked for Oracle Corporation, and I moved to Ireland to set up the shared service center at the time. From there, I moved to Yahoo Corporation and set up their shared service center. And so I've always done a lot of work in terms of process and process optimization and transformation. And from there, it became a natural transition into automation. What robotic process automation allowed us to do was change processes that we couldn't previously. So we could always change processes themselves. We could always improve how people worked with systems. The one thing we could never really change was the systems themselves, because most big organizations may have 5 or 6 different systems, a few legacy ones, and the cost and time involved in changing those is so big that it becomes not worth doing. So what RPA allows you to do, because it's non-invasive, it focuses on the asset of the data and ignores the system. So it doesn't matter what system the data is sitting in. A robot can non-invasively access all of it at the same time and interact just in the same way a person does, but obviously a lot quicker, a lot more robustly, and without any error. So that's how I fell into automation and AI, purely by accident, but it's a good one. I'm a happy one.
What is your opinion on general intelligence?
Oh, general intelligence. Intelligence and artificial intelligence is quite an interesting concept. It's probably a whole week's seminar on its own. There's a lot of different opinions on this. I don't think intelligence is that artificial yet. I think all the stuff that we're dealing with is really just algorithms and machine learning. I don't believe it's self-aware. It's certainly not there yet. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, it's been some fantastic things that have happened over the last few years. Since Kasparov was beaten by Deep Blue, then we had the Go champion Sidol beaten by over 5 games. So it's coming on and developing at such a rate. But as to where it's going to end up, I don't know. I'm along for the ride to find out, like everyone else. I just hope that we act and use it responsibly. Is the most important thing.
Can we use AI to generate virtual realities and some improving world which may be similar to video games such as GTA and Cyberpunk, etc.?
Yeah, I think in a word, yes. Yes, it's interesting. We've been working on using Microsoft and Google visual search recently to say, can we use visual search to look at a proof of identity, a passport or a driving license photo, for example, and use visual search algorithms to determine, do the facial recognition of this person match the photo that they've just sent online to validate their application. So a lot of that is using a lot of the same type of technology, and I think it's already there.
How do I apply for 2021 summer internship, I guess?
When's the program go live again, Hafisa?
Last year I applied around end of May, June, I think, and I got interviewed end of August, I think. Yeah, mid-August. Yeah. I would say just keeps checking the Brunel jobs board, and also maybe Lawrence and Wedlock website.
Definitely. And we are definitely going to be looking for people this year. We're through the pandemic. I haven't tried not to use and reference the pandemic at all today, because we've all heard enough about it. Probably all sick about hearing it, right? So I've tried not to reference it. But during the lockdown, we doubled our output. We doubled our resource and a number of people on the team, and our output. We doubled our number of clients and projects. And that hasn't slowed down. And looking through into 2021, we've already got an order book full of projects and clients ready to start. So I will definitely be very keen to talk to as many of you as possible who are interested, and to maybe do becoming a robotic process automation engineer. And there's different strings to that. We've got the business analytics side. We've got testing. We've got the building and the bots itself. We've got infrastructure engineer, solution architecture. there's so many different facets to what we do. So if you've got an interest in any of those types of things, I'd be more than happy to hear from you.
So if in these realities, cryptocurrencies is used as a medium of exchange, can there be virtual jobs that may also pay?
Virtual jobs. It's interesting. I've heard the debate a few times around when do we start taxing robots? When do they start paying income tax, and when do we? And I think the answer is we don't. Ultimately, it's software and it's code, and I don't believe we should. There's always a line. If we start crossing that line, we're getting into dangerous territory. So it'd be interesting to see. Again, it's I'm along for the ride on so much of this. This is so new and so ethereal. We're all learning and adapting at the same time.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that's all the questions are.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. And I see so many people are interested in automation industry. So maybe hope you'll get so many applications.
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah. Fill my inbox with applications. That'd be great.
Yeah, thank you so much for the amazing talk, and
No worries.
we actually learned a lot about robots as well. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Enjoy your rest of the time. Good luck with the rest of the project. I think we've got Kopi joining you tomorrow for some judging.
Yeah.
He's one of our coders, one of our bot builders. So it'll be interesting to see what you guys get up to.
Yeah, one of the judges tomorrow is also from Lawrence and Whitlock Company. So you guys will meet him there. And thank you, Daniel. Have a great weekend.
And you too. Thank you so much, Wilhelmina.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.